You have big dreams. You want to start your own business, become a millionaire, and travel the world. But by the time you get off work, you barely have the energy to do anything. So, you fall back into the same routine, doom scrolling through social media and binge watching Netflix until you fall asleep. Let me ask you something. Is this how you imagined your life would be? Listen, your life doesn't have to be like this. In this video, I'm going to show you how to actually become productive by doing less. This is something I had to learn the hard way through my own experience. So, the first step to actually changing your life is to understand the missing ingredient that's been holding you back. You might think it's time. After all, if you had more time, maybe you'd make those sales calls. Maybe you'd start that side hustle or that business. But the harsh truth is, you have the exact same 24 hours in a day as billionaires do. In fact, I've met dozens of billionaires and multimillionaires, and let me let you in on a little secret. Some of them are super high energy and get tons of stuff done, working 24/7. But a lot of them are, well, kind of lazy. They putter around, as Jeff Bezos puts it, and they don't work nearly as hard as you think because they understand that it's not about actually doing more. It's not about having more time. The answer is about how to leverage your time. And let me be very clear, the only way to do that is... The difference between you and a billionaire is the amount of leverage they get out of every hour of work they put in. As you listen to this, you might be thinking, okay, I get it. I know where this video is going. I just need to accomplish more in the hours I work. But that's not the point of this video. As I mentioned at the beginning, this is about actually doing less. Let's face it. The idea that productivity is about powering through an endless to-do list and accomplishing an ever-growing number of tasks in your allocated time is a modern productivity myth that you've bought into hook, line, and sinker. That's not how the world's most successful people actually operate. And I hear you, productivity, hustle culture, all of it. It's all nonsense. The truly successful people have mastered the art of doing less. But of course, you're watching this video because you understand that simply doing less work, fewer tasks, is not going to help you reach your goals. After all, the whole point of this video is to teach you how to actually become productive. So, if you want to become genuinely productive, you need to do less in 3 very specific ways. The first step is to do less in life. You know, the modern social media entrepreneur culture that we're immersed in today has a very distinctive feel, a very distinctive message. You've seen it. Guys flying around in private jets, helicopters, Instagram models on yachts, living lavish lives, making millions on the side. This is a character image that's been built up, handcrafted, and designed to sell you a course or a mentorship, convincing you that by purchasing it, you can live a life like theirs. But that's not how actual business is conducted. That's not how successful people truly operate. Successful individuals live very simple, almost monk-like, routine lives. In practice, this means that their day-to-day life isn't that flashy. They probably wake up at the same time, have the same coffee every morning, and maybe they even have the same breakfast. If you consider people like Steve Jobs or Mark Zuckerberg, they often wore the same outfit every day. This simplifies your life so that you're not overwhelmed by making hundreds of decisions every day. Instead, you focus on a few critical tasks that you need to accomplish. But the second thing they do is maybe even more important. You see, I opened this video talking about your goals, and there's a good chance that you have lots of them. If you truly want to be successful, you need to reduce the number of goals you have and increase the scope of each goal. Rather than having 5 or 10 goals, I would suggest that each year you choose one really big goal and then perhaps 2 to 4 smaller to medium-sized goals that complement it. The third thing that successful people do is something that might seem unintuitive at first. Even when you have just one goal, the temptation is to list all the things you need to do to get closer to that goal. For example, let's say your goal is to lose weight. You might think, okay, I need to find a protein powder, get a personal trainer, hire a nutritionist, find a gym, and buy workout clothes. Suddenly, you have this massive to-do list that seems like it's bringing you closer to your goal, but in many ways it can just be a method of feeling productive without actually achieving what you set out to do. So, what you actually need to do is find the one domino that, if it falls, causes all the other dominoes to fall over. Most tasks in life have this singular outcome. If you just do this, everything else comes together. As you sit down and think about your goals, it's critical to spend a lot of time in the planning phase. What I usually do is put on some nice music or be in an inspiring place. Then, I look at the week ahead of me and think about all the things I need to do. What is the one thing that I absolutely need to accomplish? This becomes a non-negotiable for me. It's something I will get done no matter what. You can apply this approach to a week or even a specific day. You just need to have one thing that, no matter what happens, you're going to accomplish. Sometimes, identifying this one thing isn't easy. I might spend 30 minutes to an hour really trying to figure out what that one thing is. But, of course, finding that one thing presents other challenges. Let's be honest, life doesn't always go as planned. Once you've identified that one thing and are committed to getting it done, distractions will inevitably arise. Maybe it's a friend wanting to hang out, a new TV show, or some breaking news on TV that doesn't affect your life in any way but tries to grab your attention. It's easy to dismiss these things as just a waste of your time. You need to focus and push through. Life is about trade-offs, and some of these distractions might actually be things you want to do, like going to a party or hanging out with friends. You face a risk. You can attend all these events and give in to these distractions. Or you can really hunker down and just get the one thing done. I think both of those are kind of poor solutions because neither really allows you to experience life to the fullest. Instead, what you should do is schedule and block out time to work on this one domino in your week ahead of time. If you think it's going to take 2 hours, that's fine. Find a 2-hour block on your calendar, schedule it, and stick to it. If it's 4 hours, then allocate 4 hours. By scheduling it ahead of time, you take the distractions and fit them in around this block you've carved out. It's the only way to actually move things forward. However, there is one more problem here. How many times have you set out to do something, set aside the time comes, and you just don't do it? It's actually not your fault. This is a very common and explainable phenomenon. The truth is, scheduling it is only half the battle. You need to actually execute when the time comes. To make sure it actually happens, there are 2 things I'd really recommend. The first step is to not only understand the outcome you're trying to achieve, but also comprehend its significance to you. Often, when I'm writing something or drafting my to-do list, I will first describe the very specific outcome, not the action, but the outcome. Then, below that, I'll write why it matters to me, what it means for my life, my family, my friends, and why it's actually super important for me to accomplish. This can be easy to forget when the time comes, so I'll also visualize how it feels to achieve it. The second thing I do is consider the environment. If, for instance, you're in college and aiming to accomplish something, but you know your dorm is always rowdy, messy, and loud, maybe you need to leave that environment. If you're living at home and it's full of distractions, perhaps you need to find a different setting for that time block. I like to sit down and consider the one thing I want to do, then ask myself, what is the ideal environment for me? Often, it's a coffee shop or a place that's inspiring. I'll put on noise-canceling headphones. However, you need to figure out what works best for you. Try to design your environment and have a strong outcome to actually put yourself in a position to get this thing done. Now, there's one more secret ingredient you can add to make this entire process 10 times more effective. It's a little psychological trick to make your brain crave getting this thing done and to crave knocking over that big domino in your week. Every time your brain does something, it's seeking responses. It's seeking feedback. Was that good? Was that bad? What you want to do is trick your brain into thinking that when we do hard things, when we get our domino done, it's a reward, it's a good thing. We light up and give it dopamine. So, what you actually do is plan a mini reward for whenever you achieve your outcome. For me, it's often something super simple like Maybe I'll treat myself to a nice coffee, or I'll get a baked dessert from a local cafe. I'm always trying to think, if I do this, then I will treat myself to this. My brain says, I like that. We should do that more often. And you start to build this sort of flywheel that increases in strength every time you do it. If you want to take it a step further, what you can also do is actually build in a punishment if you do not get your one domino done. You can take advantage of this all the time. The rule, for example, is every time you go to work, you would have one big outcome you wanted to achieve that day. And if you get it done, you will treat yourself to a nice meal. But if you didn't do it, if you failed to achieve your one domino, you had to limit yourself to only bread and water for dinner, for example. That way, you always work super hard to get that one domino done, then you'd have a nice dinner as a reward. So, with these small, simple steps, you can actually become way more productive by doing less if you just apply these to your life. Now, of course, being productive is only half the battle in achieving financial freedom. After all, if you are being super productive but you're on the wrong path, it doesn't matter how many hours or reps you put in. You'll never actually achieve your goal. So, to help you figure out the other half of this battle,